Fantastic. All right, welcome everybody to the in-person July 15th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. Please start by joining me for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It is vacation season, but we do have a quorum of 4 board members tonight. So we'll get right into it. First up on the agenda tonight is Eastdale Village, 14th Site Plan Amendment. And I see Jeff is ready to go here.
Did you want to adjourn the?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, we need to adjourn, sorry.
Yeah. Hold on one second, Jeff.
Yep. Yes, the Vassar College Institute, they requested to be moved to the August agenda, so I move we adjourn the Vassar College into the August 19th, 2021.
Can I ask you a quick question? I noticed on the letter from David Wise, David Kaminsky was copied. What is his relationship to the Vassar Inn and Institute?
He's just giving them the advice, I think.
He's a consultant to them?
Yes, consultant.
Yeah, he's. I believe he's got
His
maybe a daughter goes to school
going
there,
to school there,
and he's
so they-
mentioned that he's just been, working for them. I'm not sure what the arrangement is, but just
How long has he been working for them?
a couple of years, I think.
Since the outset?
Not
no, not since
I
the
don't
outset.
think
I would say it's more like the last year that we've seen his, his name as part of the group that.
Is he involved at all in construction on behalf of Vassar?
That
Any
I
type
don't
of
know. That you
construction?
would have to ask.
They haven't let us know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's a developer, so I don't know. Part of that or
Thanks.
not.
Thank you.
Yep.
Carl.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn to August 19th, 2021. Call to question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thanks for that reminder. Now we can let Jeff speak and do his presentation on his latest updates.
Thank you, and I assume my screen is visible. You got it?
Your screen is visible to us right here and to the audience there. And if you could just make sure the microphone's, right.
If we're good, okay. Again, thank you, Jeff Kane, representing Eastdale Village. Again, good to be here and see you. So thank you. The 14th site plan amendment that we've submitted really focuses on the commercial core for the project, specifically buildings E, L, and K. I'll get into those a little more detail. Really, the subdivisions related to those buildings on the site. And then we've also included some minor updates that some things that we figure out as we've been building and need to address the issues. So we have those included in this site plan amendment as well.
So you'll need to share your screen. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that.
Is it not?
It's not currently shared.
Still using a bit of Zoom, so we can do hybrid meetings here, even though we're in person with the board, allowing people to attend this way as well as.
There you go.
As well as watching.
Did everything but hit the share button. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
No, we don't need
I'm.
this. This is good like this.
Okay. All right. Now we're good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on both monitors in the room as well.
Yes. Okay, so this is the west side commercial core where most of the construction has taken place to date, and I just kind of outlined a lot 10 WC, which originally proposed for buildings E1, 2, and 3. So again, 44 is running across the side of the drawing here. Eastdale Avenue is across the middle of the site. Just fix my pointer here. And then, so what we've proposed on this building, and I've reoriented, now 44 is across the bottom, and Eastdale Avenue runs up and down here. What we've done is looked to subdivide lot 10 WC. This is the original proposal. Really 3 buildings we had, E1, 2, and 3. We lost a building, E1 got a little bigger, so really down to 2 buildings, E1 and E2. It kind of confuses things as well, because we renumbered E4 and 5 to 3 and 4. So that'll at some point Eric's gonna pull his hair out trying to figure out what we did there. But that's really what one of the buildings got a little bigger, so we lost one of the numbers.
The bubbles on the plan have been helpful. Let's say that.
Oh, good, good, okay. So you can see the two lots in proposed as we divide 10WC into 10WC1 and 10WC2. That was a 0.415 acre lot, get 2 lots out of it. Building E1 is a 3-story building, restaurant on the first 2 stories, full basement with an outdoor terrace on the 2nd floor, and then 3 residential units on the top floor. E2 was also a restaurant. It's mixed-use building, 2 residential apartments above the 2nd floor restaurant, or I'm sorry, the 1st floor restaurant. Then I'm going to go over to the other side, the east side, where we subdivided. Again, this is the subdivision that was part of the 13th Amendment, where we subdivided the whole side into 7 lots. And over the ensuing couple of months, the really our commercial tenants came together and leases have come into place. So we're looking to subdivide lots 5E and 6E into lots that match the buildings for the proposed tenants. Here's 5E and its original lot, and it had building P and L on it. And then this is the subdivided lot 5E and 5E, A, B, C, D, and E. Each of these lots are conforming to the code, and you can really see the configuration here. Buildings L1, L2, and L3 are located on lot 5B. Sorry, I skipped. Building P is on its own lot. 5EB has those 3 structures. On the corner here, building L4 in lot 5EC. We kept the breezeway just as we matched on the other side of the street, so breezeway between the 2 buildings. And then buildings 5 and 6 are on their own lot here, 5ED, and buildings 7 and 8 are on lot 5EE. You'll notice the configuration for buildings 7 and 8. L7 fronts onto Eastdale Avenue, L8 fronts into the rear parking lot. And that's mainly because of the use in these buildings. L8 is proposed for Quest Labs, and it's a great tenant, but not a use that we wanted on our main street. So we have their use in the back and a personal services use proposed for L7 in the front. So I really have two front doors or 2 separate users on that building. And then architecturally, just to point out that we've kept kind of this chamfered or angled corner on each of the lots. So Rossi's has an angled corner. E1, we've got the angled corner here, and then L4 has an angled corner. We're going to try to match that on all 4 corners of the quadrant where 44 and Eastdale Avenue North and South meet. They really kind of keep the style going throughout the development. Lot 6E, again, the original lot had building K on it and parking behind. Now proposed to subdivide that into 2 lots, K1 medical office building, and then K2 again personal services building. So each of those lots again is conforming to the code. A couple of additional site plan modifications I talked about. We have some outdoor storage enclosure proposed behind Rossi's and an expanded refuse enclosure behind building B. You can see this is Rossi's is building A1 here. And then this is Rossi's with the proposed outdoor refuse enclosure. Doesn't have a roof on it. Probably to my own mistake. On the original, I showed the landscape plan. I didn't show the landscape plan on the after photo. It looks like we get rid of all the landscaping. We didn't. The landscape plan shows everything except for this one proposed evergreen tree was eliminated from the site. to fit this. Again, it's about a 12 by 12 foot fenced in structure. We'll try to find a home for that tree back over here. It's tight with utilities, but we'll look to put that tree back, and so really won't have any loss of landscaping in this corner. The idea behind this enclosure is that this loading area behind Rossi's. There's activity over here that's going on, and we're just looking to make sure that any materials, anything that they have that ends up outside gets enclosed, so it doesn't become an eyesore. They also have a whether it's a gator or a golf cart type of vehicle that they'll use to carry their garbage over to the dumpster area. They'll park that inside of this little enclosure here again, so it's out of sight. This is really just a fenced in little outdoor storage area for their use. And then we enlarged the dumpster area, dumpster enclosure for the dumpsters located behind Building B, and really serves the both Building B and the users in buildings A1 through 6. So we realized needed a little more dumpster space in there. So you can see the concrete pad extended from here, extends all the way back now to the light post. And so we just made that a little wider and a little deeper to have bigger storage to take care of the refuse load from those users. And then the last thing, which is an issue that's been kind of at the back of our plan and suddenly became to the forefront, and that is an expansion of mail building MB2. We really need to have this operational when building 18 opens, which is right now is scheduled for December of this year. And so we've been working on that plan. And as we worked through the architecture, realized the building is a one-story building, just didn't match the neighborhood. Right? It's got the 4-story building 18 next to it, 2-story building 15 right across the street. So we made it taller. And as we made it taller, I realized that it made sense to add one residential unit above that building as well. So the building got a little taller. The use changed in it, and really the first floor doesn't change at all. The mail area, packages storage room, the office, the rental office, which we talked about last time I was here. So lieutenants can rent an office when they need to, if they're working from home and need to have an office. So, and then a toilet room and janitor's closet. And then we added on the second floor this 1-bedroom apartment with access from the rear. So the net result from the site plan. Sorry, here's the architecture of the building. This is the front from the parking lot right across the street that you would see from Building 18, and this is the side view that you would see from Hillside Avenue and the residential entrance at the rear of the building. So what you end up with from a site plan perspective is the building got 8 feet longer. This is the subdivision line coming down through here. We didn't think it was necessary to change the subdivision line based on how the code works. So we were able to comfortably fit the enlarged building into the lot. Although it does trigger the need for waivers, where we did have 10 feet to the property line, we now have 8 feet to the side yard here and 2 feet at the rear of the building. So we'll ask on the board for a waiver on those in lieu of changing the subdivision line and driving the bankers crazy who have already financed that lot once. So we're asking for that waiver. And then last, which was some excitement, we were filling our pool today, and I just wanted to share this with you. Yeah, right. You were close, suggesting a water slide. We're right there. So this is about an hour and a half old, but yes, this is the pool in the back of the clubhouse. It's should be open soon, but I thought just again to show you how far the construction has come on here, and again thank you for your support on this.
Right, thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
We start with the comments from Eric.
Sure. You want comments first or the public hearing first?
I want to go to your comments.
Okay.
first, see what-
Yeah, staff, we didn't have a whole lot of comments. The subdivision, the subdivision is pretty straightforward. There are just a couple technical comments there. On the site plan, a few non-major comments. I guess the one thing we pointed out in discussion with a couple of members is as these, in general, as these amendments are coming forward, the planning board in many cases had endorsed waivers of the very generous area and bulk setbacks in the code on the perimeter against residential uses. And as the amendments come forward, it's worth taking a look at those as the amendments sometimes decrease the buffering there. And so staff didn't have a significant problem with this, but we did want to bring to your attention in our comments, there is a slight decrease in that buffer for the proposed enclosure behind building A1, which Jeff addressed earlier. So you may want to discuss whether his discussion of the landscaping is sufficient or leave the comment in for future review. Also for the enlarged building E1, where they're doing a restaurant, there would be a second floor. The first floor outdoor dining had the board required landscaping along the property line. We're just suggesting that an equivalent buffer be provided for the rooftop terrace from the adjacent, because it's immediately adjacent to a residential.
Frank property.
Right. And then the other thing, the question for Jeff and also for the board to consider, I happen to notice that in building L, there are some amenities on the south side of building L. I think they're amenities. There's a couple of symbols and I don't know what they are. They're bike racks or benches or something. And the thought was just that this is minor, but if you're able to, they go away with the revised site plan. And if they're amenities, it's just a suggestion that you consider finding another location around building L for them, since the revised building L is coming pretty close to the property line. Sure. Just a suggestion.
And they were bike racks and benches, and so we'll find a home for those. Yeah.
And maybe just identify them in the legend, because I wasn't sure.
Right. I didn't realize they were missing, but they somehow they got taken off.
So,
and put back on.
Otherwise, we had that's it. The engineer may have their comments.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, you want to keep the amenities on both sides of 44 there. Don, what say you from an engineering point of view?
Nothing major. We have some easement questions. We need a letter about the SWIP to make sure that that's not an issue. We have some services that we need shown, water and sewer. That's about it.
All right, thanks. Nothing major.
I'll just
Standpoint.
suggest, Jeff did mention he was going to bring forward the MB2 building. So, if the board may want to just acknowledge that addition to the plan, whatever it decides to do tonight, and comment on it, since that we didn't have that at the time of the staff review. Yep.
All right, it's on for public hearing, so I move we open the public hearing for this project.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call to question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And I have a list of people who have signed up in the audience, so I'll start with M. Squires. Forward.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing the public to speak. The reason why I'm here is because, and this is in advance of the statement I want to make, The last time I tried to participate in a Zoom meeting, I was cut off 3 times. So I figured if I showed up personally, it might make a difference.
Okay, well,
What I wanted-
just keep in mind that we have a 3-minute time limit on comments.
Here we go. So I sent Mike Welty an email. I know it wasn't in a whole lot of time before this meeting, but I've chatted with a legal mind deeply involved with communities effectively blocking 5G proliferation and winning. So all development in our town and the imminent impacts of OTARD, the OTARD ruling this past March, I'm sure you're aware of it. And after speaking with this gentleman who works closely with Anthony Campanelli, who did a big win for Woodstock in pushing back on 5G proliferation for them. Here's what he shared with me. So this guy works really closely with Andrew. And I do want to say his consulting fee is $100 an hour. He would gladly advise the planning department and council to set up ordinances to block 5G deployment for Poughkeepsie. I have his contact information. This is what he said to me. He said, our town and the city has inherent local police power to determine the appropriate uses of land within its jurisdiction. That power includes the authority to establish aesthetic conditions for land use, which is what he did in Woodstock. We also disagree with the plaintiff that they were addressing their contention that section 7901 incommode clause limits their right to construct telephone lines only if the installed lines and equipment would obstruct the path of travel. Contrary to the plaintiff's agreement or argument, the incommode clause need not to be read so narrowly. It means to give inconvenience or distress, to disturb. So to give inconvenience to give trouble to disturb or molest the quiet enjoyment of something or in the facility of acquisition. So for our purposes to protect our town, it's sufficient to state that the meaning of incommode has not changed meaningfully. Obstructing the path of travel is one way that telephone lines could disturb or give inconvenience to public road use, but travel is not the sole use of public roads. Other uses may be incommoded by the obstruction of travel. For example, lines or equipment might generate noise, cause negative health consequences, or create safety concerns. All these impacts could disturb public road use or disturb its quiet enjoyment of streets. So what Paul said regarding addressing the OTARD ruling and the 4G, 5G push, he says, in New York, I would ride the nuisance mitigation horse into town for the win. Force your town to protect the quiet enjoyment of streets by capping the acceptable signal strength. So what Paul could coach the planning department on is writing ERP or effective radiated power ordinance that limits the equipment to 0.1 watts or thereabouts. It's an ERP cap that provides from about 85 to negative 115 dBm, about a half a mile away. So he
Okay,
says,
well,
if I
thank
could just
you.
say this leaves
You have
your
to wrap
town
up, Michelle.
squarely on the task of mitigating nuisances and not having to rule what is safe or not. So do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes, you're
Please
talking about the
review.
5G and the EMF concerns. but,
Yeah, and
I mean,
it's not a concern.
This
There are
project,
health
this
effects.
project does not have any 5G. intended
That's
in it,
great.
so-
But what I was talking about in the very head is the OTARD ruling that passed in March. And it's going to impact our residents because they will be approached to make money. The carriers and the site developers would say, hey, here's $1,000. Can we put our stuff on your roof?
Michelle,
then
I
you'll
did,
have-
I did
well-
get your email, so
Good.
thank you for
Please
that, and
review, please
I
share it.
did respond at the end of the day, because I only got it at the end of the day, so you
Yeah.
probably haven't seen it, but the
Okay.
public hearing is on a particular application that we're reviewing tonight.
No, I
And
understand.
so I appreciate the comments, and thank you very much, but
I
you need to go to the
understand.
next
And
one.
we'll,
I'm getting
nice.
ahead of the issue for you guys and
Yep.
trying
Yeah,
to
we're not
give you a heads up.
there
Thank
yet,
It's
but we'll
coming.
look into what that OTAR ruling is. And
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
thanks for your
Look at Mike's
comments.
email.
All right, next up is Norman Dennis.
No,
No comments. Okay, Frank Merchick.
okay.
No further comments, and I think, oh, there's another Frank. Okay, Frank Jr. So you guys are okay now? with this? All right. I move we,
Well, before you do that, we should just ask if there's anyone on the Zoom
yep, right.
who wishes to
We're
comment.
doing hybrid now.
Doing hybrid, I'm getting used to it. But if there's anyone on the Zoom who wishes to comment on the Eastdale project, please unmute yourself and identify yourself now or raise your hand. I am not seeing anyone, so I think we're okay.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, let's go around the board for comments. We'll start with Peter.
My first comment would be, after listening to Mr. Kane's presentation, is thank God for the alphabet. Secondly, we've had a lot of rain. How's the drainage? You know, I was a little concerned between Eastdale Avenue and the Frank House. There was a major pit there. And there was a stream that was a little concerning to me, according to Mr. Frank, that used to flood. How's the drainage? Have you had any problems?
Right. So the based on New York State and EPA regulations, the stormwater facilities are sized generously, and they never have yet to approach even 25% of capacity on the right.
good.
So
That's
it's, yeah, right.
The other thing is Mr. Palladino still with you?
Absolutely. Right.
He's
As you
awesome.
right, right.
We are
Thank you.
lucky, really, to have him and Mr. Tinkleman in the town, because you're very creative, you're very human oriented, and you have great thoughts. So congratulations.
Thanks. I will pass it on to him. He's
Yeah.
right. He's proud of this, and I believe rightly so.
Sounds the check is in the mail.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Peter. Nicole?
Yeah, I think my only concern really was the McCaffrey property, since that's a storage unit, right? It's kind of, is that what's close to his property there?
Yes, it's outdoor storage, and I guess the activity around that loading dock was going to take place whether there was outdoor storage or not.
Right.
We're trying to make it more compact and more aesthetically acceptable.
I just want to make
so
sure there's
it's-
enough buffer there,
Right.
since it is so close to his house.
Right. Well, like I said, we'll try to find a spot for that tree, and if we can add more landscaping back there for buffer, we certainly will. But
Okay.
so
Yeah, that was my
Understood.
only
Can I
concern.
just ask one
How
question
high
about
is it?
Yeah, I just wanted, there's no dumpster there, right?
There
It's,
is no
you know,
dumpster
What
there.
kind of material would be stored there?
So pallets was the one thing that I heard mentioned more than once. That and the and this little electric cart to move
Okay.
around. I don't know what else gets stored in there specifically.
So you can confirm that's an electric, that was my question.
Right.
I was worried about odors.
Right. No, I will confirm it. I'm pretty sure it's an electric.
And odors for any material in general.
Right. Yeah. No. And that it was important not to. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion. That's why our garbage area got bigger. Lots of discussion about how they're dealing with their refuse, and we really need to make sure it's not stored there. So it's important to really everybody on the site and the neighbors. And so it's really how do we get the kind of the stable things that they would have stuck outside behind a fence somewhere, and then get them. And they have a little cart so they can get it their waste over to the refuse area. That much easier.
This will organize it a little better, I guess.
Yeah. So, but I will confirm that it's electric. So again, is my understanding.
Thanks. Do you recall how high that fence was to their driveway?
I believe we're 8 feet on the line. I just can't remember if this refuse is a 6 foot or 8 foot around it as well. I can't remember.
Just wanted, I didn't know if the height around this enclosure is higher than.
It's not going to be higher than the one on the property line shared with
Okay,
McCaffrey's. Right.
Sorry to
No,
call out
it's
to
fine.
you.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm all set.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, Rocco.
Jeff, every time I drive by there, it looks really good. Thanks for
Thank you.
all of the good work you've been doing, and I'm fine.
Appreciate it.
I guess we discussed the storage unit enough. I think the county had a comment on the excess, some light spillage in a couple spots. So is that on any property lines?
So I took a look at the zone administrator's comment about the light. There is there's, we have the lights along 44, and the last light, for whatever reason that we're all focused on looking at it now, that last light right at the corner of the property line looks like that's what's spilling some light onto the McCaffrey property. Now, with that light isn't in, the rest of the lights on that side of 44 are in. We've not installed that one. I think that's just because it's been a kind of a congested corner where we're building. It's some minor light levels, but understood there is spillage. So I guess I would ask if the board wants that light not installed. Let me know if there's a waiver for that. Then let me know. But those lights really can't put a shield on them. But it is up to, I saw it was up to 0.4 foot candles in the McCaffrey driveway instead of the 0.2 that we have everywhere else. So we'll do whatever makes sense to the board here.
So because the zoning administrators determined that you're over the lot line and it would be a variance as opposed to a waiver from this board. So we'll leave that up to you as to
Okay.
whether you want to possibly adjust the location of the light or eliminate the light if that's needed or whatever, but we'll leave that up to you. But it wouldn't be a waiver from this board.
Got it. Thanks.
Thanks for clarifying these. And how's it, keeping an eye on the dust on the east side? You're doing more east side construction now. Just wondering how that is working with the neighbors there at Darrell Place.
Yeah, the rain helps there, right? No, it's right. It's like rained every day. But it's we do have a water truck on site now. We've gotten out of the more fully into the summer season, and there has been a lot more mulch applied over the last few weeks than there was earlier in the season. So we think we've got that getting that under control much better than we had earlier in the season.
Okay, great. Yes, right. That was on my list too. You had moved the outdoor dining from the ground level up to the second floor. How's that?
Yes.
Is
So
that like a patio, kind of like the new Zeus Brewing?
yeah, I haven't been there. But yes,
Just
there are
wondering
outdoor.
what you have so people don't fall off the edge.
Right. So there's railing there.
As well as,
Right. The idea is to have it open as opposed to enclosed space. But yes, we did. The tenant really wanted that raised instead of at ground level, and we kind of left that area as lawn between the back of the building and the Frank line, and I think that the comments we saw from staff has put some landscaping back in there, and more than happy to do that. We did reach out to Mr. Frank and noted the comment that was raised about noise, and I have a letter from him. He's absolutely not concerned about it. From him, it's not an issue, and I think that will.
as well as lights coming in his windows and whatever.
Right.
is up there.
So I'll send you a copy of his letter. I've actually got it on the.
I don't know
on
if
the
it's, I
screen
mean,
here.
if you go look at the Zeus Brewing, they have a kind of a plant wall along that.
Right, it's hard to,
Long
right, above the
spot,
second
so-
floor, it's hard to get, hard to get a wall there.
Okay. I
But,
mean, as far as
he did review the plan and doesn't have any issue.
okay.
Just a comment here. I mean, since we are a planning board, planning for the future. God bless Mr. Frank. I hope he lives to be 200. But whatever we do there, we have to keep in mind the future. And if he sells that house and someone else living there that might not be so happy.
Well, if he
So-
sells, they might buy it.
Yeah,
too.
sure. I'm just saying, plan ahead.
Yeah,
You know, whatever we do here, you know, it's going to have ramifications in the future. So,
you're right.
Yeah, I'd say take a look at that extra landscaping with staff. And see what,
Yeah, this is the area, right? This is the area that we're talking about, I think, right here, between the end of the,
Correct.
the building
and
and,
the property.
and
So
and
it's
the
about
property line.
17
Um,
feet there.
The, right here, this is the stairwell, so the terrace end of this dashed line
Ah, okay.
here,
it's
so
not
it's
right at
not,
the
it's
edge.
not right on the property line, but nevertheless, the comments understood. But that is second floor. We'll add some trees back into here. That'll help somewhat, but we were, I really didn't want to, talking to the architect and talking to the tenant, they really didn't want something solid along this line, because that really takes away from the idea of being on an outdoor terrace. So that's the conflict of the issues. But we will certainly,
Another applicant that had a roof terrace, they provided some, I think it was, I don't even remember if it was a real or an artificial green wall, which was part of the
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
landscaping.
That's
I don't
what
know
Zeus
call it
has. Right?
hardscape or landscape on the terrace, so it created a part of it was a part of the perimeter, just like there were lights and benches and, you know, muted lighting and things like that. Is that, but in that instance, it provided for some buffering towards the street. Is that something that the tenant might consider?
well, I certainly can talk to them about it. The response back was they wanted it open, not
Mhm.
not a solid, but we didn't talk about a green wall. Maybe that, right, that might be more acceptable, but certainly have that
And
conversation.
maybe the board, maybe, I don't know, provide, tell me what you would like. What's your range of comfort there? What do you want to see?
Well,
Or-
I mean, you know, if Mr. Frank looks at it and says it's okay, I would say it's okay, but, you know, Peter has a point in saying that if Mr. Frank sold his property and someone else then went into that property, they might have a problem with it.
we don't really make decisions based on personal preference. That's all I'm saying. We may have to
Right.
make decisions based on, you know, we have a code.
So if there's taller trees or.
I mean, if there's some
landscaping across the edge,
If there's
that
some
would be
landscaping, that'll block it as well.
Yeah, you would have to
versus
see
the-
about the height of the trees, because if it's on the roof,
Mhm.
right?
So Jeff, just to clarify, so you'll show us some additional landscaping along the property line with species that would grow a little bit taller, that would, you know, create a little bit more of a buffer there, and maybe look at the, you know, the perimeter of the patio, just, and not putting up a wall, but if there's anything to kind of soften the impact of noise, you know, I think you mentioned the other day, or somebody mentioned the other day, plexiglass is, you know, even a possibility for part a little bit, you know, around the edge, just to still give the feeling of looking out at an open area, but cutting the sound a little bit. Right. Of people speaking.
Or you could use arborvitae. You know, they're very fast growing and they're not obstructive. They don't have to be.
Right, and you
Elbow
can
to
get a
elbow.
row of, right, of arborvitae in here. They usually plant at, 12, 14 feet. Planting
Yeah,
isn't
they're not
unusual
obstructive.
for those,
They
and
don't
so
have to
you can get some immediate impact, yeah.
I'd say, yeah, take a look and work with Eric. You know, that's what
Do
we're
you want,
trying to
did you
do.
want me to do that as a number 12?
It's already in there as a condition, so.
Yeah, and I think it's more for us to just understand what everybody's
Yeah.
comfort level is. I think we're good.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the fence they did, Zeus, it's on one side of the patio, it's kind of a plastic green fence though. Sure looks like leaves,
Right.
but it's green leaves, kind of blocking one side of it. So, but you may not, that may be a little too non-open for what you're
Right, yes, and that was the immediate response, was that they wanted it open, but again, maybe there's some alternatives in there that work for.
Yep, the plantings we discussed would be another alternative. All right, I think we're ready to.
I move that the planning board find the Eastdale Village 14th amended site plan and subdivisions involve incremental changes to the Eastdale Village project of negligible magnitude and scope that are non-significant and consistent with the previous secret findings adopted March 15, 2018, and amended September 17, 2020, as modified by the proposed incremental changes described in the Eastdale Village application received June 21st, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded, called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move that the planning board find that proposed modifications to area yard bulk provisions of 210-27 are consistent with the goals and objectives of the town plan and chapter 210 pertaining to the intent and purposes of the MHC district pursuant to 210-27-110, and that the planning board grant conditional preliminary and final subdivision approvals for the final subdivision plot showing the re-subdivision of lot 10 WC as shown on filed map number 8062C, Eastdale Village West, and the final subdivision plat showing the re-subdivision of lots 5E and 6E as shown on filed map number 11947C, Eastdale Village East, subject to the following. Respond to the comments of all reviewing departments and agencies. Said response to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness included but not limited to the numbered items in section E below.
Second.
Would this be an appropriate place to insert something like inclusive of the added proposal for building MB-2?
Yes,
Wouldn't that be the site plan?
that's under, well, that's
Well,
under,
would be both
I
the-
was going
that's
to,
under E.
Okay,
yeah,
So we'll
you're talking about the mail building.
throw it in.
yeah, because this resolution has to be the area in bulk.
Okay.
Okay,
And Jeff
so-
pointed out
Right,
that-
including the waivers for
that there's
that
a
building.
waiver
We're adding that
specifically
in.
I was
for
adding that as
MB2.
number 11.
So that's number 11 under E as well. So
Yeah,
that's
but
included,
I still
included
have
in
one
both.
more.
That'll be included in both motions.
Okay.
We're referring to section E with the vote. It's been moved, and do I hear a second?
Yeah, there was a
Second.
second as amended.
And as amended. Called to question. All those in favor?
I
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional amended site plan approval for the Eastdale Village 14th amended site plan subject to the following. Respond to comments of all reviewing departments and agencies and said responses to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness included of not limited to the following 1 through 11, allow waiver for the additional feet for mail building abutting property line.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And are you prepared to do some architecture on the building elevator?
I am.
Or
I
E?
must confess, I lost track a little bit. Was preliminary and final subdivision granted? I did. Sorry,
Yes.
I missed that. Thank you. Yes, I am. We are prepared for architectural review for
Which buildings? So,
buildings.
L.
Buildings L and the mail building.
Mhm.
Yes, so we'll start with the L buildings. And again, small planner just to orient you. L is 44 and Eastdale Avenue on the side of it as well. So this is the streetscape for the buildings L1 through L8, really L7 on the street front. Across the bottom here, L1 to L4 is what you would see on the Route 44 side. and then L4 through L7 with the breezeway in between here, which you see along Eastdale Avenue. This is L1, 2, and L3, which are kind of taken as a group, and we really varied the heights here. L1 being 36.5 feet tall, going up to 40 feet with L2. Even though these are two-story buildings, we've added that extra height in the buildings to provide that variation as you're looking down the road. L3, 31.5 feet tall. These are all the continuation of the hardy materials, with the exception of L2 here, which has the brick facade. The brick will match building A5 on the other side of 44. So we have that brick facade in the middle. But again, the hardy along both sides. And I actually have the hardy samples here with me. One is the I'm gonna need them. I'm gonna need them a little bit. So L1, L1 is the heathered moss.
Yep.
L2 is the brick, as I said, and L3 is the Booth Bay blue.
Kind of a blue-gray.
All right, so we've got the green, and I will pass these around, but some of them get used again in the presentation. So if I can just, all right,
Sure.
and then we have cobblestone trim. So just a tan trim there on these buildings. So again, the same windows, same Coltec windows, same architectural shingles, the black shingles. But again, that variation of colors through the hardy palette on the buildings, we think is what really has worked in this site so far. So you can see that and this is the rear of L1, L2, L3. We did not carry the brick on the back of L2. It's got the cobblestone behind it instead of the brick, but the other ones carry the colors around the back side. And then you have the side of L1. L1's the only one with a side. This is what you would see driving from Poughkeepsie towards Pleasant Valley. You're going to see this elevation here with the windows in the corner as you're driving down 44.
Okay, it looked like something sticking out on the 44 view. Looks like it's something, the gray attached to the building there. It's just like,
This is the front. This is the 44 side. I'm sorry, where if you go up.
oh, okay, it's a bump out. That's what I'm seeing on L1.
Right, you've seen the other building behind
Looking
it.
from 40. Oh, that's
This is the other building behind it. Right. This is
that in that view. I meant in the other view.
No.
On the, up to the left there.
this one.
Right to the right of it, on the right side of L1, looks like a shed.
Yes,
attached
that's
to the
okay.
side.
Yes, there is a little electrical doghouse that's needs to be added in here. So yes, that's what you're seeing in the shadow line right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that set back a bit?
It's set back off the right at the very rear of the building. It's back here.
Ah, okay, yeah. Just so that,
I said electric. I think that's actually a water room, not the electric room. But
all right.
great. L4. This is the corner. This is a restaurant. Again, a two-story restaurant with apartments above. And on the see, this is the corner at 44, and then you turn here and go down Eastdale Avenue. Pearl gray and the gray slate are the two colors. Lighter color on top, darker color on the bottom, and with the awnings in between. Again, awnings are that kind of typical identifier of a hospitality use. So they're important, I think, at the for places like this restaurant on the corner. Again, the same treatment
As you round the corner.
as you round the corner, and continuing the progression of the windows, both upper and lower progression of the windows. And then this is again, the side view. It's in the alley. Not really going to see. You're going to see this kind of double window here as you're walking down the sidewalk, but you're not really going to see much past that into the alley until you walk through the alley, maybe to get to the parking area. Residential door that goes upstairs for the residences above the restaurant.
Have you been able to lease the upstairs place?
You know, we
We've got inquiries. There's
Right,
not many built yet. but-
no, it's good. It's good question. We have a waiting list for the other units on site. We've got 220 some odd filled right now. We haven't leased any of these yet, but we think the interest rate will remain high for all these units. And for most of them, we'll be managing them as well, as opposed to being managed by the individual owners. So that's just one of the things that we think works for the site in terms of control, and works for the tenants as well. They'll have access to the amenities on the site. So we're
These are owned. So
Yep.
you want to build something,
Right.
you own it, you're the one that has to do the tenant. So you're going to assist the owners in placing tenants.
right. We'll have a management contract for management, repair, and leasing of those, because we've got the infrastructure there, and it's just
That'll be helpful.
right. I think it
You're
works
like
for.
the realtor.
But yes, right. But it really works for everyone, especially because we're on site there.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
All right, thanks.
Jeff, one thing, since this is a restaurant, will be open later, there may be some of the other businesses which will have apartments above. I assume you're adding additional soundproofing? and
We are.
stuff? Okay.
Right. I mean, there's two things about it. One, yes, we have to add soundproofing to these units, extra soundproofing to the units, especially the ones above commercial. The second part is people have to walk into this with their eyes wide open. I mean, you're living above or living next to a building that's above a restaurant, and so there's inevitably going to be some conflict. I'm not going to say it's never going to not be an issue. There will be, I'm sure, an issue at some point, but we'll do our best to educate people as they're moving in to the neighborhood, and we look to build these things so they are quiet. And we've certainly on our units that are stacked apartments, we pay particular attention to the noise going floor to ceiling to make sure that don't have that transfer. And it's just part of building these days. You gotta really look at the noise transference.
Mhm. Somebody practicing tap dancing up top. All right, thanks. Continue with architecture.
Right? Nope. So I got more. I got right 5 and 6.
Anybody okay with that? Everybody okay with building L so far? All right.
Again, 5 and 6, just the other side of the breezeway. This 5 has the cobblestone and the Arctic white. I don't have an Arctic white, but it's white below. Sorry, I think you have my Arctic white sample in your samples. And then the building L6 has a rich espresso above and below, so that's a much darker shade for that building. Oh, look at that! See, somebody had the Arctic white.
It's not on Eric's house.
This is again the rear of the buildings. We're looking at match with Arctic white on L5 on both the upper and lower, and continued the rich espresso on L6 on the back side. And this is again inside the breezeway. It's all Arctic white, and kept the same 2-bay windows, so you see that both sides of the alley as you walk by. On. L7 and L8, again, L7 fronts onto Eastdale Avenue, the heathered moss above the cobblestone. Oh. Heathered moss, where are you? There we are, heathered moss, right, above the cobblestone, top and bottom of L7. And then L8 is all the heathered moss at the rear entry. It's got the white sign band trim here, but the real siding is the heathered moss.
Oh, that's the one that would be the lab, you said? That's
Yeah, it's a
in the
lab,
back.
yeah, right. And again, this is their entrance, right? So this
Right,
is,
right.
and it reads as a front door more than the back door into the parking area.
Mhm.
And then this also has a side that's an unnamed drive there to the parking area. So this has got the header moss and the white trim. The end of L7 and L8. Again, two-story buildings, but we really worked on the roof profile to provide that variation.
There's no HVAC showing in these roofs, right? I mean, flat
No
roofs.
HVAC showing on the roofs, and for the most part, these we don't have flat roofs to put HVAC. What we've done for a number of these, and you can see it behind buildings A3, 4, 5, and 6 right now, is we'll have some condensers are hung above the sidewalk on the side of the building there, not on the roof, not on the ground, but we hang them high over the sidewalk, so they really are out of the way. Both it helps both with noise. You don't have noise transfer from your roof down into the building, and where we don't have flat roofs, it really is not necessarily another option for where those can get placed.
Any comments, anyone?
Looks good.
Thanks. And I can also do mail building too.
Yep.
That's appropriate. Again, you can see the location of this, just to remind everybody where we are. Building 18 is here, building 15, and so we're really in this area right at the end of where the top lot is. All four sides here, and we've got Arctic white below, and then the siding above is light mist, which we've used this on some of the buildings. So this will be the upper color above the Arctic white. Those really all four elevations. This is the side facing the parking lot, facing building 18. This is the door to the mail packaging area where residents will be going in and out of daily. It's a lot of use.
I mean, it kind of looks like a variegated color in the renderings, but it's,
Sorry, say again.
it looks like a variegated color in the renderings, rendering, but you're.
Oh, it's just right, just the way it shows through. Yeah,
But it's the solid color you're
yes,
saying.
yes. This is the side facing Hillside Avenue, and again, as I pointed out, this would be the front door to the package area. This is the mail packaging area. This is the residential door leading upstairs, the gable roof. This is the rear of the building, and because it's the Hillside Avenue really curves around this portion of the site here. You're going to see the back of the building a lot. We've got some landscaping proposed out here, but this is a visible entrance, and then the residential entrance on the left there. And this is the entrance facing the park. Again, carrying the same colors through the window repetition through on that building.
Any comments on the mail building, anyone?
The brackets,
Yes.
that make things like that make all the difference. You know, I never had much faith in the town center concept because I didn't think it could be realized. But you did a terrific job.
Thanks. The brackets do make a big difference, and I'd say when you walk down that street on Eastdale Avenue, you look at the brackets, and you see the ones where they're not in yet, and you go, oh, but you can, it really does pop. So
Makes it all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you got a great architect, as Peter has said multiple times.
right, and a plug to Giovanni has been the inspiration here. Union Studios though has really been the ones who produced here, and so I want to give them props as well. They've done a great job for us on the site. So if they're watching tonight, they're probably not, but just in case they are, I'll make sure they know that.
It's being recorded, so you can show.
Right,
that.
right. I'll put in my Christmas card to them.
Right.
So, but they've done a great job here for us.
And Jeff, one thing, since you said that the HVACs are going to be elevated above and higher, it's a pet peeve of mine, but I assume that all of the drainage for the water exit will be captured and won't be dripping on the sidewalks.
There's not much more annoying than that not being captured. Yes, I absolutely agree. No, it is captured, and right now that's it's a great point. Yeah, they are captured, and so it doesn't continue to drip.
Great. Good catch, Roger. All right, I move we accept architecture as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, called to question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Jeff,
Thanks,
are you
Jeff.
going to, will you be forthcoming with buildings E1, E2, and K1, K2?
And P
Sorry?
and P. Right. Yes.
At a later date?
Architecture isn't ready for those buildings yet,
Okay.
but we will certainly we have on the list that those are remaining for you to look at. I'm not sure we did E3 either.
Right.
Right. So yeah, there's still a few hanging out there where architecture's a little just again there's moves and waves, and we're not quite there yet. But we're really hoping to break ground on this fall on E3 and E4. Those are proposed, and all of the L buildings. Those are that's what today's crystal ball says. So
It's looking good out there, so
thank you.
Is your crystal ball available for loan?
Yeah, right. Well, talk to me in the fall and see how I did. It's right. Thank you.
great.
Nice job.
Next up is Bp3 Springside Development.
He's not the documents.
Right. Okay. Right.
He was asking. Yeah.
Already, guys, just make sure you present through the wireless. Zoom.
Good evening. While John is setting that up, I just want to say that was an impressive conversation. The fact that, it's the round 14 and you know how complicated these projects are. And the fact that you're working together is amazing. It's really, nice to see. I can only apologize. This is only round 3 for us here on this project.
That's okay.
And maybe
You don't need
this
to
is the
try to
last-
beat him.
Maybe this is the last one, hopefully. So our presentation tonight comes about because of the complication of building the building that we proposed. Given the changes in the marketplace, some of the costs that we were seeing on the project just became unsustainable. And we didn't want to impact the quality of what we're doing, because that's a big part of in our success, and we wanted to stay with that. And so the project essentially doesn't change a thing on the site, though. In working with Eric Holman, we realized that when we got the last approval, some of our lighting was not, there was some spillage off the site. And so we made some changes to that to bring that into much more conformity. But other than that, there's been absolutely no changes whatsoever to what you've reviewed and approved in the past. So what this is about is we had a 5th floor, and on the 5th floor there is our tenant community spaces on the 5th floor and the outside roof deck. Plus we had 2 dwelling units on the 5th floor. And what you see in front of you are the floor plans of what we previously submitted on the right, and the new plan on the left. And essentially, instead of having open roof space up there, we brought the 4th floor up to the 5th floor, and 2 of the apartments that are in the center are still, which was designed as the community space, are still a community space with the outdoor terrace, with no changes to that. So the 3 units make a substantial difference in the underwriting of the project. And they're great units because they're up on the 5th floor. So the view there, we had units up there, so the building is not taller. There's no change in materials. We'll show you the elevation, but the materials that we presented to you last time and the color palettes are the same. And so that's really what the project's about. Again, we appreciate you considering this. We want to get started. The plan is to get going in September if all things fall in place. That's the plan right now. And so now the project moves up to 28 units. But the public amenities again have not changed. The 1st floor has not changed. The British Swim School is still a big part of what we're doing in this building for both that business and also for the ability of tenants to be able to swim in the pool during the cold weather or whenever they want to use that. But the building predominantly is 1 bedrooms and 2s. They're about 50-50 mix. There's maybe a little bit more 1 bedrooms. So nice mix. And again, part of this is not to reduce the quality of the building in terms of how we're dealing with sound, the quality of the windows, the materials that we're using, the sizes of the building. Again, this is the elevation facing, we're actually looking northeast, and this is the view from the highway. One of the nice things about the design is the center of the building here is still recessed, because that's where the outdoor terraces are. So it's really just and the entry form, which is really, again, the colors on the screen here are a little hard to read here, and every screen is different, but it's that kind of pumpkin color that form hasn't changed in height or design at all. So there's been no changes there. The one change on this elevation is on the other side. That form has gone up 1 floor, but the way we designed is we wanted to even make this one area look set back, so it has a really nice central feeling for that outdoor space. Again, the views up there will be terrific. There's a lot of glass. There's an exercise facility. There's a nice common room or a lounge, and then we have a flex room that can be used for office purposes, or if somebody wants to, have a dining event or a catered event, there's going to be a catering kitchen off of that. And again, that's really the pretty much the scope of what the changes are. Again, here's the view from the parking lot. You can see it's just 1 story taller on the left side of that, and then the view from as we're spinning around the building going clockwise. Again, the outdoor spaces haven't changed, materials haven't changed. We have really good windows. Makes a huge difference, in terms of not only the thermal costs, to the tenants, but also just the inside-outside dynamics that we're really trying to achieve with each of the units. So with that, I guess, open for questions or what have you, but thank you for considering the request here today.
Great, thanks, Steve. Go to Eric for
Sure.
comments.
Staff reviewed and found there's not too much of a change, as you said, there's too much of a change to the site plan. Most of it, the review for the board is in the architecture. That said, I can't take credit for noticing the lighting spillover. That was a comment of the zoning administrator.
Yep.
And the question was whether or not it was going, she had said it would need a variance. So we worked with the applicant so that they don't need to get a variance. They'll get to the building permit more quickly that way. So you have resolutions to reaffirm the previous secret determination for the amended site plan and special use permit, and to consider architectural review for this. I will note you did receive just recently public written comment from the Arlington Heights Homeowners Association.
Yep.
And it turns out they were unclear on which parcel was involved in this application. And their comment of concern would have had to have been with a parcel adjacent to them, which is not this parcel. Right. And they indicated to me that with this parcel, they did not have any concern.
Okay, great. Yeah, you'll have to keep that in mind if you do anything with that parcel in the future. But
and those are our comments. I'll just ask, we don't have I don't think we have the renderings in our packet. If you could provide that to the board for the record later on, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I'll defer to the engineer. Oh, and I think the traffic consultant, the board had requested additional information on the swim school. The traffic consultant did provide some additional information. And do we have him on the line?
yeah, he's on.
Okay, and I also asked the applicant to bring the swim school director as the board requested.
All right, thanks, Eric. We start with Don and Jan. Anything on this?
Yeah, once again, we have some easement issues that need to be taken care of. We're looking for a note about the sewer main and part of it needs to be slip line. Looking for a SWIP amendment letter, but not a whole lot.
All right. At this stage, it's been here a few times, so thanks, Don. And Mark, can you hear us? You're on the line?
Yep, I can hear you. Mark Pachoro from JMC. So I did provide a review memo. I had some minor comments that are pretty technical, and one or two are just related to coordination between the drawings that were in the drawing set. Otherwise, they were pretty minor.
All right, thanks. It's only a couple more apartments here. All right. Time for a public hearing, so I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. There was no one signed up in the room today. There's anyone who wishes to speak on this project? Seeing none in the room, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this project online? Zoom,
And we're on the Bp3 Springside.
still doing a hybrid approach right
Yeah.
now.
Anyone on the Zoom? Raise your hand or unmute. No, not seeing anyone.
Seeing none, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Oh,
Question I'm concerned about is the parking. Right across the street from my house. All I'm interested in finding out.
Do you want to come up to the mic and just make sure?
Yeah, if one of you could allow
step
the
aside a
gentleman
second.
to sit down.
Just make sure it's on the record.
Just
No, the other one. I think.
The other one, I'll tilt
Yeah,
that
there
over.
you
No, what it is I live right across the street from it. And I'm just curious what kind of like gating they were talking about for the parking lot, because people, not to have people and kids that park on the street and everything park in that parking lot. That's all we're concerned about.
So a nuisance kind of thing.
Right.
Gotcha.
Any-
Well, I would, one is, the parking lot is gonna be completely, cambered, so that we're gonna be able to monitor all activity. It's the right thing to do. The parking is gonna be for the tenants, and the tenants come and go. Everyone lives different cycles, so there's gonna be activity there. The lighting plan is carefully balanced so that there's good visibility, which is an important part of safety. And, we have other lots in the neighborhood and we've really not had any issues, and so that's really been pleasing to know that there's really hasn't been any fear impact to any of our existing tenants or such. So, part of it's being diligent, and again, we try to have relationships with our neighbors, so if there are things that are of concern, then we're available to address them. But
I mean, it's good your office is right there on the site as well, so you
It's
have
a big
visibility to that.
and again, about stewardship, I mean, I think the concern that was brought up was that, and thank you again for helping us take the trees down. And there was some concern about the appearance of that, and you worked with us, and I think the lot looks great. It's been mowed out, and all the trees are down. So part of it is just being diligent. That's kind of like what I think you've seen that we've done in the past, and we'll continue to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big change to the area for the neighbors and stuff, so make sure it's done right. All right, yeah, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call to question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, let's go around the board for some comments this time. Start with Rocco.
No comments. I like it.
Nicole?
Yeah, my only concern was the parking, but Mark seems to think that we're okay on that. Mark,
As far as,
as far as the swim school and the apartments, you think we're gonna be okay on parking?
Yeah, I think with the interaction between the apartments and the swim school, you'll have some interaction of shared spaces over there. So I think that could be something that could be looked for how that would interact with during the day versus at nighttime.
Yeah, and we had some schedule here for the British pool school
Yeah.
hours. So we just wanted to make sure that, there wasn't any problem there with parking.
The potential tenant is here if the board wants, and you have another location, correct? So if you might want to have on the record his experience with the other
Sure,
location.
could you come up and talk to us?
yeah, I mean, I see on your pool hours, you're generally during the daytime.
One of the concerns that we had was whether parents dropped off their kids, because from the last time we spoke with you, it sounded like a lot of the children that come to your school tend to be younger.
Yep.
So if that was the case, we were concerned that it wouldn't necessarily be a drop-off situation. The parents would stay. And I was concerned whether or not there would also be like grandparents also coming to see practice, aunts or uncles, cousins, that kind of thing. So instead of having one parked car, you have two, you have three, for just one kid.
Yep.
So I just wanted to see what's your experience been.
Sure. So at this point, I know in our lease, we've agreed for 8 spots. And the reason that we came to that is even though it's a big pool and when people take swim lessons, you see 10, 20 kids lined up on the side of the pool. And that's not really what British Swim School does. We do typically 2 classes at a time and it's 4 kids per class. We
Okay.
stagger our class times, so we never have a lot of kids arriving at the pool. Right now, we're doing about 35 hours of lessons a week in the town of Poughkeepsie, all through one pool. We have about 400 students, but on average, we never have more than 4 families at the pool at a time. And that just is the several numbers that factor into that. One, I think about 30% of our customers have 2 kids. So it's one parent brings both kids to the
pool. Ever since the beginning of COVID, we restrict the families to bring one parent to the pool. And we're going to keep that in place because it presents a lot less of a distraction to the kids. They make a lot faster progress in their swim lessons. So as fun as it has been for everybody to come and watch, our goal is to keep the parents away from the pool. So typically, if we only have 6 kids in the class and half of them have the same family, we only really have 4 people parked there at the same time. In terms of our staff, we'll have 2 swim instructors that'll also likely park on site, but we also maintain a call center that we've had for the past 2 years that's 2 blocks away, where we also have parking for our staff, so they also won't have to park on site.
I can add a couple other things because this came up for discussion. So we were interested because parking is always an issue. And, the ordinance talks about 1.5 spaces per apartment. And so we went and looked over the last couple of days. And again, so our model here is limited of a couple of days, but interesting. The apartments are full and there's 22 apartments. This is going to be 28. We built 44 parking spaces there. They're predominantly 2 bedrooms, 6 and 16. The 6 are 1 bedrooms, the 16 are 2. We then looked at the census of, I think we have 32 cars. So that's a little less, but close to 1.5. We then took some pictures of that lot and looked at the last couple of days. And during the day, like today, there was 11 cars in the parking lot at the time we took photographs. So, so the idea, I think what your traffic consultant was saying is that there's a really nice blend of not having to build more parking spaces than you really need. So in the daytime, and again, maybe more people are working at home, we actually have more 1 bedrooms in this structure than, because they're about 50-50 here. But it was just interesting to look at that. We also noticed that in the built parcel 3 where our office is, there's a lower parking lot there, and that has 50, I'm going to make up a number, 55 parking spaces. We've been watching that the last couple of days, and we're fully occupied, our commercial tenants in there. And today at 1:30, for example, there were only 22 cars in there. So, it's just interesting to watch. It's such a strange science.
I want to ask you a quick question about that. That parking lot that you're talking about is the one, I think, immediately east of this building, right? Would that be available if someone comes to the neighborhood and they don't know where the parcel lines are, right? So there's a parking lot there. If they are unable to find parking, could they go into that lot? I mean, is it signed in a way that would say stay out?
That's the great part of, controlling all these
Right.
little pieces here.
Right.
So we can obviously make that happen. So, yeah, it's, it's something in our toolbox. So absolutely. But we see that with the number of spaces that we're providing and given, and we looked at another property that we're involved in. And again, the numbers were less dense, and particularly in the hours that the swim school is operating. So there's so it's really kind of nice to not have to over blacktop an area. So,
Our busiest operating hours are typically like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and like early mornings on Saturdays and then Sunday afternoons.
And that's generally when apartment people will be away at work or whatever, so.
and to Mike's point, the other lot, if for any reason we need it on Saturdays and Sundays, we have 4 apartments that use that lot that has the 55 spaces. So there's plenty of capacity.
If you do use that lot, I assume you'll be providing some kind of fixed walkway
Yes,
between the 2 parking lots?
it's in the plan now, yes.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. It's a good comment.
Thanks, Rocco. Do you have anything else?
No, that was it.
All right, Peter? Good. Let's see, my comments, let's see. Did you ever work out with the DOT, that sidewalk connection?
We're working with them still.
Still trying.
It's been discouraging, but we're not going to give up.
Keep twisting their arm, because I think that's an
So
important connection.
you have our word that, because it makes for a better project. And, I think there were some people here that were on earlier calls with the DOT, and it's a head scratcher. But thanks for bringing that up.
Right. And anything Anything on the pavilion yet, or you're still trying to work on that design? And
We've been so focused on trying to make this project work that we'll come back to you on that, likely, over the winter time, once we get the building under construction. So no new changes with that.
last question, I kept saying the name Anthony Giuliano. Any related to Bob?
No.
Different relation, okay, just curious. All right.
Anthony's running the construction on it. He brings to our office quite many years of experience building, mid-rise and high-rise buildings. It's amazing what I've learned having him on staff. So it's great to have him as part of the team.
Great. Ready for motion.
I move that the planning board as seeker lead agency determines that the Bp3 Springside Development Site Plan and Special Use Permit and Architectural Planning Board application as amended June 16, 2021 involve incremental changes to the project of negligible magnitude and scope, and that no significant and consistent with the previous seeker negative declaration adopted August 20th, 2020 and reaffirmed February 18th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded for seeker. Called the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move the planning board grant conditional amended site plan and special use permit approval for the Bp3 Springside Development Site Plan and Special Use Permit amended application dated June 16, 2021, subject to the following. Respond to the comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies. And said response to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness inclusive of but not limited to the following 1 through 11.
Second.
Moved and seconded for conditional. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And you do some architecture. Everybody satisfied with the architecture you showed us?
Looks good.
All right.
And we'll submit those packages.
Any
to
additional conditions we want to add? I don't think so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I move the planning board accept amended architecture as presented and require future architectural review of the pavilion structure prior to its construction.
Second.
Moved and seconded for architecture. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. You're good to go again.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully you'll be able to get started. And,
Appreciate your support.
keep the neighbors in mind as you're doing construction as well for noise and dust and all that stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Glad to see the swim school still rocking. You guys are still keeping busy through all of this. Good. Just got a couple of adjournments there.
All right, next up we have some adjournments at home store at South Hills Mall. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to August 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. South Hills comments. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to August 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Oops.
Yeah.
3-0.
Nothing passes 3-0.
Nothing passes. We gotta
So we just gotta get Peter back, I guess.
Let's get down there. Few board members on vacation this month. Just doing motion for South Hills Commons. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to August 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Next up, Stewart Shops. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to August 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Arlington Farms Malabar. I move that the planning board, I move that the hearing be adjourned to August 19, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. This time I move that we allow public comment on any other items on tonight's agenda. Ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And we will consider them during this portion of the meeting. Do I have a second? No.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Is there anyone wish to comment on any other remaining items on tonight's agenda? Anyone in the room?
Anyone on the Zoom? Not seeing any.
Give it a few seconds.
You know,
in
I
case-
wasn't in the room, I don't think for the first one, the home store, shops at South Hills, just to be on the safe side.
Right, because 3 board member votes won't carry it. You
You were
need
here
4.
for stuff, but not at home.
Yeah.
All right, let me, first, I move we resume the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Let's make sure we redo the at-home adjournment and stops South Hills. I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to August 19th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0 for that. And next up is 8 Tucker Drive. Who's here representing 8 Tucker Drive tonight?
Ken Casamento from LRC. I have Kelly Leibolt also from KRC. She's hiding in the corner.
Ken? Lori?
Good evening. Wanted to first ask, we're here for just starting the process with circulation for lead agency. Mr. Chairman, do you want a full presentation tonight? I know we've spoke to the board before, but wanted to find out if you wanted us to go through it kind of all again.
Yeah, we get a gist of what the project is, but
Ken, they actually, the planning board has not heard a presentation of this project.
well,
It started at the town board. It was submitted for the planning board, and then the application was pulled.
Okay,
oh, right, we could have it free.
so we can go through it here if that makes more sense then, just to do a quick presentation through.
That'd be great.
Bear with me, I'm going to share my screen.
All right.
I was gonna say, it looks great.
That looked real nice.
Hold on one second here, this screen share.
Yeah.
Ooh, you like that project?
Yeah.
Now, where is that in the town?
Just about in Canada.
Okay.
There it is. Can you see it now?
Yes, we do.
All right, there we go. So the project is located just behind the Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union by the Stop and Shop off of Tucker Drive on a parcel that's been back and forth for a while. 8 Tucker Drive, known as 8 Tucker Drive, as you can see here where it's located. Come on, go to the next slide. Having mental technical difficulties here with my slides tonight. Yeah, it's here. It's just not going. There it is. We submitted a rezone application, the EAF, existing condition plans, site plan. Currently, the whole lot is an 11.51 acre parcel. It's currently VSC. We're looking to rezone the parcel to IL. There's no buildings on it. We're proposing 1 building. The permitted lot coverage is about 30%, where coverage requested is about 5.9%. There are some wetland disturbance areas, one of which in the buffer over here on the right, based on some of the comments received by Carol, I do agree. We think we can adjust the grading to avoid those impacts to the buffer entirely. So we'll work on doing that. The one that we can't avoid is the one where the entrance is now. That entrance is basically constructed as it is now. There is a culvert there that's noted in both the engineer and Carol's letter that is currently not operating at 100% capacity, that we're going to work with staff to come up with a plan to actually repair and fix that. It was not included in the current submission, but we will get that included as we go forward. The required parking's 45. We've proposed 56 spaces on it. The building's a 30,000 square foot warehouse type building. The grading is primarily sheet flow away to some stormwater retention ponds outside of the floodplain that is on the property, as well as the buffer area. Utilities, we'll be installing a water meter pit and coming in with a water meter, but based on the minimal use of septic because of the warehouse use, we're looking to propose a on-site septic system rather than putting a rather expensive pump station and everything out to try and connect to the main that's down out on Tucker Drive, which we know we'd have to go pretty far down because of some existing issues in that line. The project landscaping, we proposed landscaping to buffer the rail trail being on the east side of the project behind some natural trees that will remain. One of the questions was to kind of clarify the edge of tree line and keep that on the plans. We'll do that as to make it a little clearer where the tree line is and where it will remain. Site lighting is mainly accomplished by the building itself. Lighting on the building. There are some poles proposed along the roadway in just for safety and maintenance along that access drive that's in. Fire truck access around the whole building. There is some ability for the trucks to go through the building itself and load into the building. So that's why they're shown that way, but we can clarify that a little further with the next submission as well. I know that was in one of the staff's comments. Building is basically a metal frame building consisting of bay doors, as you see here, and glass doors on the one side and bay doors on the other, kind of gray colors with a blue accent. Currently,
Which way are the bay doors facing? Is that?
The glass doors are facing the west and the east, which would be the blocked view mainly from the trees and to the rail trail would be the ones with the solid doors on the backside.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And that really is it in a quick synopsis. If we want to go back to any particular thing, I'd be happy to go back.
All right. Thanks, Ken. That's good. Go to Kristen for department's comments.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Thanks, Kelly. I know you're there. So first, I just want to point out, counsel for the planning board for this particular project, here she is actually Jim Nelson, who unfortunately could not make the meeting this evening due to unforeseen circumstances. So I just wanted to point that out for the record so it's clear. The application actually started at the town board. It's on for the applicant is seeking a zoning district change from BSC to IL. So it starts procedurally at the town board and has been referred to the planning board. So it's on for lead agency intent for seeker purposes, seeker review, a recommendation for the town board for a zoning district change, site plan review, floodplain development permit review, aquatic resources protection permit review, and architectural review. I think that's it for now. So there are a number of comments that still remain. The application actually was submitted originally in the springtime. I do have to sort of state this for the record. There was some site disturbance that occurred prior to any approvals being issued. Violations were issued but have been remedied or are under advisement currently as we proceed with this application. So all has been squared up there for now. So the applicant submitted materials. They were circulated to town staff for review. The comments and submission responses that are before you tonight are from that original application. So that's for your review going forward. And what else am I? So the application is on for tonight for lead agency intent and deferral. I also have Carol Knapp on the line who would be speaking to any of the wetlands related mitigation or other related questions. I guess I'm also, in addition to acting as counsel this evening, I'm also acting as the town engineer. Don must have stepped out of the room.
Don had to leave, I
Uh,
know, but I think I see Andy.
Yeah.
Andy Learn is
Andy's
on.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I'm
Andy.
here. I'm here.
Thanks, Andy.
Do you have any?
Real life stuff. I guess the only thing I was going to mention is that we are still waiting for a SWIP, but that's as much thunder as I'll steal from you, Andy.
All right, go ahead, Andy, if you have any other comments.
No, I mean, I think pretty much everything's been covered. I guess, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but one thing that I do want to mention is that the culvert, under the driveway for the site does have some damage and needs to be repaired. And we are kind of looking for those details to be added to the plan set. We've talked about plans and how it would be accomplished. We just need to memorialize it on some drawings.
All right, thanks, Andy. Yeah, on my site visit, I noticed that stream was not flowing right. It was actually kind of bubbling up in the middle of somewhere. The culvert was not working properly.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's go to Carol. I see her on line, and there's a bunch of wetlands on this site. So
Carol, you're muted.
Carol,
Mike, is it star 6?
still
or,
available?
If she's on a phone, it would
Sure.
be *6.
Looks like you're on Zoom now, Carol.
Does look like she's on Zoom. Well,
She's
she's,
stepped
oh,
away
maybe
for
I
a minute.
can ask to unmute. Hold on.
We can,
Oh, wait, here we go.
There
you
she
there,
is.
you there, Carol? Okay,
Hi,
great.
Carol.
Hi. I guess most of my earlier comments have been taken care of. The remediation work has been completed within the floodplain. They removed a lot of material from the floodplain. And then Ken had just commented on the fact that they are taking some of the unnecessary buffer impacts out. So again, we're just waiting on some more details regarding the culverts. But in any case, it would likely be a temporary and minor impact. So we're just going to keep reviewing, keep on top of that as plans progress.
All right, thanks, Carol. I see your letter also mentioned there could be landings in the area, so they need to take care of that.
Yeah, the Blandings turtles, they had completed their site inspection. Had a few issues with the fence at first, but the fence has been completed, fully enclosing the site and has been inspected, and they just need to keep up on that, and everything's good.
Okay, thanks for weighing in.
And Carl, just one more thing. Dutchess County Planning did actually receive this application, and they had responded prior with a local concern.
Concern. So that, thanks, Kristen. All right, let's go on board for comments. Start with Peter.
It's a little too soon, I think. I would just mention that I think 4 or 5 years ago, we made a recommendation to the town board to rezone this from IL to BSC. So here we go, full circle.
Yeah, it's kind of in the back behind the shopping center, so it's hard to say. Nicole?
Yeah, the only thing that I was a little curious about was in the paperwork, the applicant stated that they provided a 75-foot buffer where a 100-foot buffer is required, so I was just curious about that. I didn't know if that was a typo or if, yeah.
So I can address that if you'd like. We did provide the 75-foot buffer, and we can provide more supporting information and narrative for that. Kind of a dual response to Peter's comment and to your comment. I would welcome a site visit out at the site with any of the planning board members. I've actually, as Eric knows, I've actually had 4 or 5 different applicants that have come to me that have wanted to do development work on this property. And it is very unique. It is limited access. The reason why we're not bringing the sanitary sewer in is because it's not conducive to sanitary sewer. And of course, Franco can comment on that. We met with him out in the field. There really is a limited use, and this is a very de minimis use. I don't foresee any possibility how this property would ever be a commercial property. I was always surprised when it was rezoned back when it was, and I think the appropriate zone for it is this industrial use to allow this warehouse. Because the property has such significant wetlands around it, that landscape buffer, I think, is predominantly to protect the views of the site from an adjoining, residential or other property owner. And the area around this is so dense. So I would certainly welcome anyone coming out there. We can certainly apply and prepare a variance application to the ZBA. But we think that there's enough support for the vegetation that's there and the proposed landscaping that we're adding to support the 75-foot buffer.
Carol, could you weigh in on that?
Sure. The aquatic resources, according to the town code, have a graduated buffer, and it's 9 acres to 12 acres. So less than 12 acres is a 75-foot buffer, and everything over 12 acres is a 100-foot buffer. We applied this as we have with other ones of other sites, significant separations, and the separation here is where the wetland disappears going into the shopping center. And I mean, it does continue, it's a part of the Fallkill Creek, but basically from Tucker's and the edge of the shopping center over to the other side of Route 55 is a significant barrier. So we stopped it there, and then we did the same thing on the north side. So the 75-foot buffer here is appropriate.
It is, okay.
Yeah, no, it's under, the whole property is under 12 acres.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Anything else?
Nope, that was it. Thanks.
Rocco?
I've got a question for Ken or Kelly. The walkway, the rail trail, is that at a higher elevation? The people walking there would look down on that?
It is a higher elevation, but we are adding some significant vegetation. There is a lot of existing vegetation there now. I don't know if we can pull up, if we can share the landscaping plan.
Yeah.
And we are proposing additional vegetation in the back. And predominantly, the major impact that you could see on this property, well, that just gave you some of the vegetation that they could see.
Okay, would there be fencing proposed along the rail trail?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to certainly put a fence back there, and that would be some additional screening. And then also with the additional trees and so forth that we're showing in this area. And
because I've been along that rail trail quite a bit, and there are some paths already that people have made down to various
they have.
properties. And then the fact that you're going to have additional parking that's needed, just it's a comment. I don't know if it's a concern or not, because it could be an asset or a goodwill gesture from the owners to maybe allow some parking, maybe access to the rail trail, unless they want to block that off completely. But I have seen a lot of trails that were blazed from the rail trail down to adjacent properties.
Yeah, I was actually surprised myself when I was out there one day. It almost looked like a roadway. It was amazing, the trails, but there's definitely a trail that brings you down into the back of Stop and Shop. So we'll look at that, and then the next time that we present, we can just enhance that back property line so you can see the detail that we're proposing back there, and we'll add that fence.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. That was my concerns as well. It looked like you had the evergreens there to help landscape, help screen in the back.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
So, and the culvert flow we already discussed, so that's
When I was in high school, we used to use those trails to sneak into the demolition derby. The old Arlington Speedway.
That's funny. I move that the planning board declare its intent to lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed project as an unlisted action, and authorize the planning department circulation of a notice of said intent dated July 15, 2021, and a copy of the EAF and a copy of the applications to the identified interested and involved agencies.
second. Moved and seconded for lead agency. Call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move the planning board defer action on this application and direct the applicant to respond to comments in writing of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, included but not limited to the following 1 through 12.
Second. Moved and seconded. To defer. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All
Me
right.
too.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Maybe see you in person next time.
Yes, I think it's appropriate.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have
Oh, sure, now Andy.
we have Dunkin' Donuts on Vassar Road is next up on the agenda. Who's here?
Good evening. This is Chris Lapine with the Chazen Companies, representing the applicant ABDD Capital. I also have with me David Pinella with ABDD Capital.
Good evening.
So
Give us an overview. This is the first time we're seeing this project with the planning board.
So ABDD Capital owns and operates a number of Dunkin' Donut facilities on the East Coast, New York, and in New Jersey and Connecticut. They're looking to relocate the existing Dunkin' Donuts on Vassar Road that's currently at the fueling station to the east and locate it onto the Red Oaks Mill Plaza site. It would be located in what was the former Chase Bank building, but is now a Meal and Associates Financial Services. The Red Oaks Mills Plaza is a bit unique. It actually consists of 3 separate tax parcels that comprises about 4.65 acres of property. Access is on the northern portion of the site, and a point of egress onto Vassar Road is on the southern portion. There is also a shared access that straddles the property line on the south for cars to go between Red Oaks Mill Plaza and the Stewart Shop to the south of us. So that's just to kind of give you an overview of the project. What I'd like to do at this point is share my screen with you. And so from a presentation standpoint, the proposed Dunkin' Donuts is going to be located here, as I indicated, in the Meal Associates current building. There is a small proposed addition on this building as well. And the intent of that addition is to accommodate the drive-through and pickup. That'll be located in the southeast corner of the building. What we've done with this site to incorporate the Dunkin' Donuts is we've made some slight modifications to the on-site parking, and I'd like to go through those with you. Currently, the parking on this side of the site, there is no parking adjacent to Meal Associates. What our intent is to provide some ADA accessible parking for the Dunkin' Donuts facility and some additional patron parking along the front. And we've created what was a 2-way access point, and we are now making this a 1-way only out for points of egress. Going out onto Vassar Road. The drive-through facility for the Dunkin' Donuts would start on the western end of the existing building. We've laid it out where it's approximately 160 feet so that it can accommodate up to 8 cars as necessary. And that's what we've had some back and forth with ABDD. As I indicated, they operate a number of these facilities. And they felt that was a good number in terms of the maximum number of cars that they typically see at their facility. I know reading through the town's comments, I guess they see more than, I guess on Route 9, there's a 200-foot queuing location. I don't think we have the traffic that Route 9 has compared to Vassar Road. So we don't suspect that the proposed queue that we have here is going to be an issue as shown on our plan. Taking a look at this corner as well, it's predominantly occupied by pavement and some really scant landscaping along the frontage. What we've attempted to do here is address that by increasing some of the landscaping along the front and converting that impervious area to some additional landscape that'll pop with the new building that's being proposed. We've also incorporated some additional landscaping on the southern side of the building. We did this mainly so because, as I indicated, you know, the frontage of this site, especially on this particular parcel, is a sea of impervious area, and we've tried to limit any sort of amenities in terms of outdoor seating so that we can incorporate some landscaping into this current plaza. The truck traffic associated with the deliveries would follow the existing pattern that is utilized by the Rite Aid facility and the other food operation of facilities here. And I'll go to the sheet here. This is the one of you probably most want to see. So like we went and took a look at how the trucks operate at this site and what's their patterns. So the trucks come in obviously on the north end of the site, and then they meander through the parking lot adjacent to the Rite Aid. This parking area adjacent to the Rite Aid is seldomly used at this site, but it does house their existing septic system in this particular location. The trucks come around the existing building there, and they pretty much stage. There's no kind of designated parking area for them. The intent here is that the Dunkin' Donuts would also do something similar where it would stage behind the existing wacky cactus food and beverage place here on the southern side of the site. And then it would be able to, and this is the path it maneuvers through and kind of egresses out. It's not the most smoothest path, but we did want to give you an indication of how the existing flow is operating out there, and that we would be able to utilize this existing path for the operation of the Dunkin' Donuts facility. The site itself is served by subsurface sewage disposal systems, so we'd require Department of Health approval for the sanitary discharge. There is currently a water service that goes to this building that we intend on reutilizing. We would need to get both town and Board of Health approval for a new backflow preventer for this facility. And this project, obviously, as it abuts Vassar Road, prior to coming to the planning board, we spent a couple of months working with the Dutchess County DPW to understand whether or not any improvements along Vassar Road would be necessary as a result of relocating the Dunkin' Donuts from the east side to the west side and incorporating a drive-through. And I believe we've identified this in the EAF that was presented to you, that the county found that based upon our traffic report that we prepared in our left turn queue analysis, that there's no need for a left turn lane or any other improvements within the county right of way. We've included that in the EAF, and we've received some of the comments from your traffic engineer, and we'll certainly make that available to him as well. And as you're aware, we received a number of comments from your traffic engineer. We've scheduled a meeting with the traffic engineer, the applicant, in our office and the planning department next week to go over those comments and see what we can do in addressing those and mitigating that. As we indicated, this is a county road, and we spent some significant time working with the county early on to determine whether or not this was viable or not. At this point, in addition to site plan approval, since it's going to incorporate a drive-through, the proposed action would require a special use permit for which we've also submitted an application for.
Chris, could I just chime in for a second?
Sure.
Two things. One, in order to, well, you'll have to talk to the person that currently owns this plaza. I'm not really sure who that is currently. But in order to have good truck access to the back there, they're going to have to make some improvements to the back. Have you been to the back of that plaza recently?
I have.
Yeah, so you know all the dips and uneven pavement that occurs back there, and then the tightness coming through to back to the front next to that restaurant, which I'm not even sure what the name of
It's,
that
yeah,
is
it's not
right
the,
now.
not the wacky cactus
It's not Wacky
anymore.
Cactus anymore, something else.
Changed
but-
again.
Yeah, changed
Yeah.
again. Yeah, so that's gonna have to be improved. And also, quick question for you, for the out onto Vassar Road, are you going to make that a tighter access point? Are you tightening that up by putting landscaping on both sides?
No, we're not necessarily tightening it up. The trucks can maneuver through there as well as passenger vehicles. What we were trying to do is dress up that particular corner with some additional landscaping. As I indicated, we're going to be putting a new shell on this building, and we wanted something to kind of, as your first glance, is to have some nice landscaping in addition to the cosmetic improvements that are taking place there.
And also one more thing, did you say no left turn out of there?
No, you can take a left turn. It's we did a study for the Dutchess County Department of Public Works to determine if we needed a left turn into our site, a dedicated left turn lane, and they indicated one was not required.
Okay. Yeah, because currently you have.
You're not asking about that. You're asking about the exit.
The exit
Yeah,
lanes,
the-
well.
yeah, the
That's a
exit.
different, that's a
Some
different
more.
question.
I mean,
Yeah,
well,
you can currently exit out of here with the left turn.
Okay, yeah, because it's currently both left and right out there. So I was just curious if you were tightening that up or not.
Mhm.
It'll only be a right hand.
Yeah,
I would
it's
like
good to make sure the trucks can make it through, but it also, we'll talk more about that as
Yeah,
well.
we have a traffic consultant,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I will, hopefully he'll take a look at that left turn
absolutely.
We'll get
exit.
into that some more. Do you have anything else to present, Chris?
No, we didn't have the architectural renderings ready at the time, so we wanted to start with the site plan application.
All right, if you're looking at architecture, I mean, you note that there's, if you're trying to tie it in with the plaza, there's that stone that's on all the pillars.
Mhm.
If you want to do some kind of tie in there. We like the architecture of the Dunkin' Donuts up in Hyde Park looks nice. Anyway, we'll move on to Eric to give some department comments.
Let's see, this item, it's a new application for the lead agency declaration of intent with an application for special use permit and site plan, as was mentioned, because of the drive-through. Recent change to the code allows drive-throughs now in the Red Oaks Mill District. This preliminary comments, most of the issues of substance have to do with traffic, so I'll let JMC deal with those. Staff did add a couple of additional comments resulting in a revised recommendation circulated a couple days ago to the staff and applicant. And I will, Chris, just from your presentation, I just wonder, maybe we could add this to the list or you could address it tonight. It occurs to me that the truck circulation you described, if I'm not mistaken, the truck circulation route goes over the northeast corner, north of Rite Aid, but that area is also proposed for restriping. And there's also no location identified for loading and unloading, and almost anywhere it would do that would be an obstacle. So it raises the question of loading space, location, and timing. Are there going to be any restrictions on the delivery timing that might deal with those conflicts?
That's actually a good idea, Eric, and we hadn't considered that in terms of allocating timing. I do know there is cross access and easements and parking easements for the site that allow them to load and unload on other parcels that may not necessarily be affiliated with the particular use that's on there. But we can dig into that as well.
Sure. So those are their comments, and maybe I'll turn it over to the engineer and
Yeah.
Mark Petro, the traffic consultant.
Yeah, you gotta make sure there's no cars parked there at the time the delivery truck's going through. That's, even though it's not used that often. You gotta
Oh, and I will,
point
the
that
other
out.
comment I added was, it turns out there is a 1996 site plan that is on file and applicable to this site presently. It's a Chazen prepared it. I think you have ready access to it. And so basically, whatever conditions presently apply, still apply. So those should be either shown, if there's any differences from the current plan as shown for existing conditions, they should be shown and bring it up to date, as proposed to legalize any changes or to bring them to the board's attention.
Thanks,
And
Eric.
one of those comments had to do with the rear area, which I didn't pay too much attention to, but
Yeah, it's a mess back there.
Nicole brought that up, so that might bear some attention as well.
Yeah, especially, like I said, close to that restaurant at the end there, they tend to put the refuse enclosures very close to that restaurant, and sometimes it's hard to get through there, even with a car. So I can't imagine, what fun the food trucks have sometimes, so.
Sounds like that needs to be managed a little better back
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
All right, we go to, is it Don or Andy that's on for some engineering comments? Andy, I still see.
Yes, Andy Learn. Yeah, we had several comments, a lot of them related to traffic and circulation. And I imagine Mark will probably cover most of them. I'll just point out a couple. As far as the drive-through is concerned, it's interesting to me, and maybe Chris can explain it rather than me going on with a comment. Where do you anticipate most of the traffic entering the site? Because it seems like once you exit the drive-through lane, it's based on the striping. It seems impossible to get back to the north side of the parking lot without exiting the site.
The north side of the parking lot is the point of ingress, and the south side is the point of egress here. So when cars are exiting the drive-through, they would then proceed to the east to the point of egress.
So there's no ability to return to the north side of the site to say, go to the pharmacy, something like that?
Well, if you wanted to return to the pharmacy, I see what you're saying. We would probably need to have some sort of a bypass between these two, as opposed to going through park spaces.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that was the one thing. And then, I had, you had mentioned the queuing. It seems like, and I know the traffic is much less here than it is on 9, but it seems like whatever Dunkin' Donuts you go to, there's always the potential for backups, that can cause problems. And I guess, how do you anticipate, I see a lot of people entering the site now from the Stewart's access. How would people that enter from the Stewart's access the drive-through?
So if somebody's entering from Stewart's, what would most likely happen is they're not going to be able to take this turn as you immediately enter, because it's an abrupt turn and it's too sharp for a vehicle. They would most likely have to proceed to the next drive aisle and turn around.
Yeah.
The intent is if somebody's coming from Stewart's, you're not going to Stewart's and then going to Dunkin' Donuts, I would assume. They're going to be competitors of one another. I'd have to look back at the 96 site plan. I wasn't even engineering in 96, so I wasn't even aware we had done a site plan. To go back and look at that and see what.
I just want to add in there that, that was one of my big concerns, that, somebody's getting gas at Stewart's and they want to come even over to the plaza to get a pizza slice or go to Rite Aid or something. And now you got the new the striping that it's all one way going.
Yeah, and you know what, that's an oversight. This is actually, this is two-way traffic here, and I'm not sure why, a layer must have been turned off, but this is still two-way in the front of this.
Okay, because that needs, that needs to be
Yeah.
two-way to get people back over there. All right, continue, Andy.
Yeah, no, that actually, that Chris, that that answers quite a few of my questions. The fact that that actually is supposed to be two-way. So I mean, those are kind of my bigger circulation comments. The only other question I ask is, I realize we're less than an acre here, and you're currently showing your roof leaders draining into an existing dry well, but I'd like you to consider maybe adding a second dry well or something like that to try to, further, reduce the runoff if at all possible.
Okay. Yeah, they're tied into the existing drainage facility, some tie into the dry well here, some are piped and tied into the existing drainage lines.
Okay.
We can look at maybe perhaps using some infiltrators or something like that.
Yeah.
Parking lot.
I think that would be good. That's it for me.
All right, thanks, Andy. And Mark is on still. We can have you
Yep.
discuss your view of the traffic situation. Mark.
Sure, yes. So yeah, as you said, we had a few comments. Mainly it boils down to traffic circulation and just traffic in general. As Andy had mentioned, we had mentioned about a bypass, a recirculation route, which is currently existing on the property. And it allows for someone to re-enter the property and circulate the property without having to go out to Vassar Road. So that was just one thing that we pointed out, and Andy, of course, pointed that out as well. And then we had mentioned about the queuing analysis, queuing length too. If there's supporting material that support this this proposed length, then maybe some similar facilities that show what the max queue is or the 95th queue is on these locations that the applicant has. And then there are some parking aisles that are kind of tight on the site, and there's some that are not labeled. We want them to be labeled to verify if they're sufficient. I believe some are down to 22 feet for 90 degree parking. So there's something to be discussed with that as far as how to either get some relief of that or making them wider. As far as we did ask to have a site distance analysis done at the driveway too, so that would take care of the left turns, looking to see, the ability to make and see far enough to make those left turns and right turns out. And then also as it comes to the WB50, as you mentioned, you're looking at this to be the delivery vehicle to the site. And actually, just coincidentally, I was out driving today and I saw a Dunkin' Donuts tractor trailer, which was a 53-foot trailer. So I probably just want you to confirm that this is the appropriate size vehicle that's anticipated to this use. So it was one of the larger trailers. So WB50 is a little bit smaller than this and allows for maneuverability. When I first saw the WB50, I thought maybe it was related to the fire department routing. But even with the WB50, looking at the screen here, you do have some encroachments onto sidewalk. You have an encroachment for getting close to the utility pole as it exits the drive actually as well too, crossing over the road there. So those are just some of the things related to the site. The one-way flow and the two-way flow throughout the parking lot there could cause to driver confusion. So we really need to pay attention to the signage and make sure it's appropriately signed. So we would just want to look at those things as well. And then just as far as traffic, I know you had mentioned about the coordination with the county. We didn't get the correspondence you have with the county, so we couldn't verify that until recently when Eric had provided that in coordination with the county recently through emails. But in his email, it mentioned about an assessment that you had done, so we didn't have that assessment. I'm aware of looking at the submission materials. But my concern really stems from the town's perspective is just, yes, I understand that you're relocating it from the existing location to this proposed location. And that's totally fine. And this one's gonna have a drive-through. The only thing is taking credit for the existing location. I don't know if it's something that will be allowed, just because if, say, someone goes into that existing location, the same use, they wouldn't be having to do a traffic study as well. So we would be under anticipating traffic on the road there. So that's my only concern, is taking credit for the existing use that's relocating. So that's where it comes down to the traffic, and really looking at just the proposed location with the office to the Dunkin' Donuts use with the drive-through. And then, yeah, as you can tell from my letter, I had the traffic study that I was requesting, a left turn lane analysis and an accident analysis. We just want to make sure there's no accident problem along the frontage there that we could maybe try to mitigate before things happen. Sorry to be lengthy. I tried to not do some of the smaller points, but that's my synopsis.
You
Mark, yeah, it's got a lot of issues to look at, so. And the old, I mean, I remember the old, where they're moving from, there's a car wash, and maybe change it back to a car wash. But
if I may, some of the concerns raised are existing conditions on the site that in some cases may be difficult to address with regards to the existing aisle widths that exist on the northern portion of the site, where we don't plan any improvements with the Dunkin' Donuts proposed on the southern end of the site. That was noted. And I will admit, in terms of the WB50 trailer that's coming through here, we did see some that, because there's no cars located on the northern parking, they do slide a little bit into this parking area in order to drive around the building. We tried to be a little bit more realistic in terms of, because cars predominantly do park along the eastern side of the building. There are cars that are parking on the northern side. And we wanted to be realistic with this and show that, yes, a portion of it would ride over the sidewalk area. But as I indicated, we have a meeting scheduled to discuss some of these thoughts with and comments with the traffic engineer. And we hope to reach a conclusion on addressing some of these, if not all of these. Some of them are, as I said, existing conditions that would require some substantial modifications to the entire site with regards to creating traffic aisles that are 26 feet in width and redoing the parking on the site. We pretty much kept the circulation in terms of the parking on the site as is, with the exception of the southernmost lane, which we created to be a one-way. And the reason being is, under the existing conditions, if I could just go to that here. What we found here is cars that are waiting to exit onto Vassar Road, whether they're taking a right turn or a left turn, they were inhibiting these vehicles from either turning to go back into the site or trying to take a turn onto Vassar Road. So we actually witnessed some of a queue buildup along this particular location. So that's what our intent was, to try to eliminate that. But it's a valid point about how would you get another vehicle from the drive-through who may want to visit the Rite Aid. So we're going to have to revisit that.
Okay. And Chris, as Nicole mentioned earlier, I also wanted to make, this can be it's going to be busier than it was as the bank or other office. So right now there's a left and a right turn arrow coming out from that exit. And so people turning right do not get stuck behind somebody waiting to turn left. So
Correct.
make sure that,
We're not impacting the width of this.
okay.
All we've done is we added some additional landscaping in this particular area here. The width is not being impacted at all. They'll still have the ability to take a left or a right out of this facility.
Okay, just want to make sure because it just showed one arrow on the current plan, so. All right, thanks, Mark, for traffic comments. We dealt with that. Let's go around the board, I guess, for additional comments at this point. Start with Rocco.
Chris, clarify for me, I think the services coming into the proposed Dunkin' Donuts, are they town water and the sewer?
So the existing lot operates on a subsurface sewage disposal system. The septic system is located to the north of the existing Rite Aid facility. The existing parcel is also served by municipal water. There is a separate water service right now that comes into the building that the applicant intends on reusing. They would have to replace and upgrade the existing backflow preventer within the building.
So would there need any pumping station to get it across the parking lot into the septic?
No, well, right now there's an existing pump station that receives on-site flow via gravity from all of the different users on the site. Let me go to the overall plan here. So there's a pump station right here. We have gravity flow from sewer that comes, flows from the east. I'm sorry, from our building to the west. These other buildings all flow and connect in the back to this sewer manhole, which then flows into a pump chamber that's located right here. And then it's pumped via force main to a septic disposal system located over here.
Okay, question for Andy. I'm sure you're looking at that and make sure that the increased capacity can be handled.
Actually, that's actually going to be a health department jurisdiction. We don't, this will have to go to the health department for that review.
It's an SDS
Okay.
instead of sewer.
All right. Thank you. That's it for now.
Okay, thanks, Rocco. Peter?
Just a couple of things. One, I think Andy had mentioned there may be a need for an additional dry well. I don't know, there's no increase in impervious surface there, so I don't know to what extent we can require that, Dunkin' Donuts foot the bill for that. But the second ward is notorious for high water tables. They have a lot of problems with drainage, so it's worth at least taking a look. Also, again, as was mentioned earlier, that left-hand turn, I'm thinking about the credit that Mark brought this up, the credit for the existing Dunkin' Donuts, whether or not that's something we have or should take into consideration. And those are my only items.
Okay. Thanks. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I think I already said what I was thinking earlier, but the only other thing would be if donuts were going to be made on the site, you would need a grease trap. I'm assuming that you wouldn't be because majority of Dunkin' Donuts don't really do that. You have one or two sources and then it's trucked to each place, but I don't really know what you're specifically doing on this site. But yeah, so that would be the only thing also that I'd want to mention.
Yeah, that's an accurate assessment. There won't be baking on the site.
Correct.
But the health department will require a exterior grease trap nevertheless.
Will.
They will.
Not
They
baking.
will be
Not
baking
baking.
like bagels and things of that sort, but he's saying that the health department is going to require it anyway. So,
It's required regardless by the health department, just because of the nature of the operations that they're dumping coffee down the drain that may have grinds in it. They may wash out, obviously they're going to wash out their coffee pots. It's a determination that the health department has made and it's been consistent with all Dunkin' Donut facilities, Starbucks type facilities as well.
Yeah, there is no baking done on the premises.
That's good.
Not even bagels.
Nope. No, there's toasting, warming. There's a convection warmer for like egg sandwiches, but toasting, but no baking at all.
Right. Anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
I just want to check with maybe Lisa about, does they need any cross easements and all that for parking and?
Well, Chris said that there were some cross easements that allow like loading and other things. So Chris, if you locate them and you want to send them my way, that would be great.
Sure.
But we'll see if this, right now, I don't think that this applicant is proposing anything off-site once we get, in terms of parking.
Okay, it's mainly,
Except, but the loading may be the issue if that's not being done on, if they don't designate it something on
Okay.
site.
should not dealing with any shared parking, you don't think?
Yeah,
There's shared parking on the site between the different users, but we can certainly, we can get that from the owner.
Okay.
if we could, while we're at it, we should also verify that the agreements also cover the sewer. Just, I'm sure it does, but we should try to locate and verify that those are covered.
That's interesting, Andy. The current owner of the facility checked his records, and there is no cross easement between the parcels for the sewer, which obviously typically they require transportation corporations for something like that, where you have other parcels utilizing a septic located on another parcel. We've had a call with the Department of Health about this, and they're willing to potentially entertain some sort of an easement agreement. We just have to propose it to them, and they're going to have the county attorney review it. They're leaning more towards the transportation corporation, but one of the things we discussed here is this is not something that the town of Poughkeepsie would accept because they operate a municipal sewer.
Right.
I mean, it's not something that an entity like Dutchess County Water and Wastewater would accept because it's serving a private entity.
Yep, agreed. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're talking to the health department now, so we can figure it out rather than.
Yeah. Sounds good. Other comments I had, Chris, I think I mentioned the architecture, make sure the HVAC is hidden. If there's any kind of flat roof issue. I did say I like the one in Hyde Park, but maybe tie in some of the stonework from the plaza with it. I think that maybe you can find a space for at least a one U bike rack there as well. There's neighboring houses. And
If I could find two.
Even that sounds good. Even a street tree, maybe a couple street trees. I know you're proposing a lot of bushes in the front there, but there's trees now between the Stewarts and this property, so maybe continue a couple.
I can take a look at that. One of our concerns when we were talking to the DPW is we did not want to modify the existing line of sight that's on there, so we used some low-level shrubbery and planting.
Yep. Yeah, you got to keep the line of sight in mind. It's tough to turn out of there sometimes. It's busy. All right. And I just want to say it's great to see a vacant building be reused. So.
Is it worthwhile to meet with one or two members of the planning board to kind of walk through? I know we have to look at the 1996 plans as it relates to the rear of the facility, but I feel there are maybe more issues out there than what is being conveyed. And is it worthwhile just to have a walkthrough there?
It might be because, look, the traffic circulation is one of the big issues that people are discussing as well. So.
Chris, I'm going to suggest that I know we have a meeting, our meeting is scheduled on Monday. So maybe we should walk through that and see what some of the, where some of the issues are and where they point to in terms of plan revisions. And maybe at that point, we could talk about whether it's appropriate then or maybe after you make some revisions, which one of those would be more appropriate to maybe sit down with one or two members from the board to look at the plans or go out to the site.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if we can look at it together out in the field, we might be able to put our heads together and come up with something that's a bit more amenable than what's existing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got the gist of all our comments at this point, so we can.
I move the planning board declare its intent to be the lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed project as an unlisted action, and authorize the planning department circulation of a notice of said intent, a copy of EAF, and a copy of the application to all involved agencies and identified interest agents.
Second.
Moved and seconded for lead agency. Called to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Nope. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move the planning board defer further action on this application pending establishment of lead agency and subject to the following. Respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, and said responses to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness included but not limited to the following 1 through 13.
Second.
Moved and seconded to defer. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, thanks, Chris. Good luck with the.
Would it behoove the applicant, I know I've got some work to do here on the site plan, if they could make a submission for the month of August to review the architecture of the building?
If they,
Probably.
I don't know if we need to, but I mean, if you have,
Maybe next time.
if you have an early look.
I missed the question. Are you looking to resubmit for August?
They're thinking about submitting for
What
architecture.
they're asking about is,
no.
no, an architectural preview, I think it'll be the same review as when you come back for site plan. So I
Okay.
don't know if it gains anything.
Yeah, don't do an extra cost there.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next up, we've got the,
Chris, if you could unshare your screen,
oh, yes.
that would be good, or I'll, okay.
All right, we're on. Next up, Poughkeepsie Library Parking Edition. Is there anyone on that's representing?
This is Chris Lapine again, representing the Poughkeepsie Public Library.
Yep, I guess you guys didn't get it completed, so yeah. Resubmit.
It wasn't so much the completion of it, it was the cost of it, where they continue to do some fundraising. And they've now have amassed the funds to complete the work. Unfortunately, their site plan approval had expired.
Yep.
And at this point, they're seeking for a renewed approval so that they can pursue the improvements as outlined on the original plans approved by the town.
All right, pretty straightforward then, thanks. Kristen, you want to weigh in from the town?
Yeah, sure. So the application is on for reapproval. It's relatively straightforward. We just wanted them to update or provide the signature boxes on the plan sheet. So we'll just get that squared up and get new signatures on the plans. The resolutions before you are about waiving the public hearing, re-adopting a secret resolution, and re-adopting a conditional site plan approval. The conditional site plan approval pertaining, I believe, all the comments were basically no comment or they're okay with the plan. We're just about making sure we get the signature boxes. So we're all set otherwise.
Minor things.
Mhm.
All right, good. So anything, Andy, from your standpoint on this one? Okay. Let's go around the board for any comments, Peter? No. Call.
No, just probably one of your comments about charging.
Yep, I did have that.
That was,
Yeah, I thought it might be time, you may want to bring up, they consider an EV charge station. And I've even discovered something, a company called Envision makes even a portable system. You don't need electrical connections, which has some solar panels over it.
I can speak to the applicant about that.
Yeah, just something to consider. There's more and more of those cars coming into the area.
Yeah, fair point. Since this application probably first came back, the town board has adopted a resolution to be a climate smart community. So basically, whenever an application comes in where it makes sense, we are sort of, prompting that at this point. So that's where we're at. There's no requirement, but it's just the prompt. And if it's feasible, obviously, we know that you're in a situation where you're, raising money and funds for this project. So not sure where that would fall in your
Right.
agenda, but
The state is entertaining grants from
sure, yeah.
districts.
Yeah,
But that's true.
but that requires administrative costs and other things too. So, again, that's on the applicant and of course, Tom's in the room, so.
Yeah, I want you to bring it up with him anyway. So
Yeah.
that'd be good.
He's right there.
Oh, you are.
I have just a quick question. Will the decision we make tonight be binding?
No books in that.
That was a great pun.
All right. Yeah, I didn't bring up EV charge station at Dunkin because nobody's there long enough to charge it.
Right.
So, but the library people come in and hang out for quite a while sometimes. Rocco, anything?
No, but just to comment on your EV station, I mean, the taxpayers to fund the public library district, and that would be an appropriate use that would benefit the taxpayer.
Yeah.
So just to support what you were saying.
Yeah, and I'll offer up the, if that conversation does progress, or if we wanted to have that conversation, we could probably handle that as a field change, as you've already
Right.
laid out your parking. So we wouldn't make you come back to the board for a review or anything. We could probably handle that administratively at this point.
Right. If they wanted to put something in that way, or even one of those portable ones that just drop it. I don't know what that requires for. Besides sun.
You don't have to sell me.
As far as a permit or something.
You don't have to sell me.
The town's got to work up some, they need a permit for something like that. All right, I think we're ready.
Did you want to move the public hearing?
Go ahead.
Okay. I move the planning board waive the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded to waive the hearing. Call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Move that the planning board as lead agency hereby determine that the Poughkeepsie Library additional parking project amended site plan reapproval would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that an environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in the attached negative declaration resolution dated July 15th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded for seeker. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Poughkeepsie Library additional parking site plan amended reapproval as depicted on the plan set dated June 25th, 2018, and last revised on January 25th, 2019, and signed by the chairman on February 7th, 2019, subject to the following 1 through 7.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Conditional. Call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right. We're back in
Thank you very
business.
much.
Good luck with the implementation. That'll be helpful for. Last up, we have Haifa Holdings at 819 Main Street, another reapproval. Is there anyone here representing Haifa tonight? Chris Lapine, perhaps? Oh. All right. You guys have any things to say? Any changes in the plan?
Everything actually is the same at this point. We just took, we weren't the original architect on the project.
Okay.
Which got it approved. So I can
Yeah.
walk through it with you, I guess, but it's basically the same building that went through CDs. And they just, the deadline to
Yeah.
get it executed before time ran out.
Yeah. So go ahead and show us again then.
actually use the portable mic, right? If we,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we haven't used it in a long time, but I imagine it still works. Are the batteries still good? Are the batteries still good? It's a good question. Yeah, that's gotta be on as well. Takes a minute to warm
There
up.
you
There it
go.
goes.
There it is.
Wow.
Chris, do you want me to just go through site planning first, or do you want me to go through the architecture, or I can turn pages, or whatever you prefer?
I have the plans I could put up on screen as well, however you want to do it.
Looked at this before. I mean, we don't need a real detailed overview. I mean, I think we're all pretty much
Yeah, we
familiar
all-
with the
we all
project.
approved it.
Has anything changed architecturally or?
No,
anything?
No,
the same exact.
nothing's, I think the dilemma here is, by the time they've submitted their building permit application, in the review, their site plan approval expired.
Okay, I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
All right, yeah, so then.
So we're just seeking a renewed site plan approval so that they can continue their building permit review in order to start construction.
You said a new architecture, that's why I was
Yeah,
concerned. I
yeah.
didn't know if you.
No. It was
changed
basically, we took exactly the drawings that were provided from the previous architect and documented them to construct.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all the materials are the same. You should have the same colors and everything on file.
Yeah.
It's just, different face with the project.
Okay, great.
Super, thank you.
All right, Krista?
So again, it's a reapproval. Nothing has changed. That has been verified by multiple departments, and that's documented in your conditional site plan resolution here. But just one thing for the record, well, two things. One, we are recommending that you waive the public hearing. And two, this did go to Dutchess County DPW and received approvals. If you remember, there was some work that was being done out along Main Street. So all that to say that approval was good for 5 years. So they're still under that time approval window. So
And the couple of spaces that are encroaching onto Woodcliff,
that would be all, that still follows the plan
Okay.
as a reapproval.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the town board weighed
Yes.
in on it. The
Okay.
town board had to approve that as a.
Yep,
recall.
okay.
Yep, so that all is still valid. That's good. Well, you may want to consider an EV charge station for the apartment. Any case, hey, let's go around for comments. Anything, Rocco?
Nothing.
Nicole? And Peter?
It's a deja vu all over again.
It's not that late yet. All right. I guess we're good then, Mike. That was my only comment. I'd be happy to see it move forward.
Thank you.
And, remove the existing old garage that was there.
Okay. I move that the planning board waive the public hearing.
Second. Moved and seconded to waive public hearing. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move the planning board as lead agency hereby determine that the Hoffel Holdings LLC 819 Main Street reapproval would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that an environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in an attached negative declaration resolution dated July 15, 2021.
Second. Moved and seconded for seeker. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Hoffel Holdings LLC 819 Main Street reapproval as depicted on the plan set dated December 21st, 2018, and last revised on July 22nd, 2020, and signed by the chairman on October 16th, 2020, subject to the following 1 through 8.
Second. Moved and seconded for conditional. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0 again.
You want to do the
Go ahead.
All right, I move the planning board grant architectural review reapproval for the Hoffel Holdings LLC 819 Main Street as depicted on the plan set with last revision date of July 22nd, 2020.
Second. Moved and seconded for architecture. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
And Mr. Chairman, I misspoke before. It was Dutchess County Department of Health, not DPW. That's a 5-year approval. was for.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
You too,
too,
thank you.
Chris. Maybe in person sometime we'll see it.
I actually planned on being there in person, but I was out in the field today for about 6 hours.
Oh.
And I felt it would be better to go home and shower. I just didn't have the time.
Well, thank you for being on
Sounds
Zoom
good.
then.
Have a good night.
All righty, take care.
Any other business the board wants to bring up? I move we terminate the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
All right.
Night, everybody.